the Everything But Politics podcast.
Off we go. And thank you for joining us once again on this 126th edition of the Everything But Politics podcast. With us today is independent country music artist hailing from our Hoosier state, Jake Dodds. Jake, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure to meet you and now to learn about you. So, but why don't we start, Jake, by having you, give our listeners some background into who you are and your musical journey.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Bloomington, just outside of it in Unionville, kind of by the Lake Lemon area, if anybody is familiar. And went all through school here, graduated from Bloomington High School North, and then I never really put any thought into college. I was, it kind of like snuck up on me, honestly. And I think I was like in the beginning of my senior year, and people started talking about where they're going to college, and I was like, oh, this has to be like a decision that gets made, isn't it? And so I just like literally, I didn't really want to go to IU. My brother and I mowed some yards and stuff like that. And so um, in hindsight, I think I probably wish I would have, but just wasn't like super interested in school at the time and just wanted to work and just, make money and have fun or whatever. So I ended up choosing to go to Vincennes, and I picked my major from like a scroll down toggle of majors and was just reading descriptions. And land surveying said I always wanted to have like have an office. So land surveying said that you got to work inside and outside, and I was like, that sounds good. So I literally just chose to go to college for for land surveying based on that, pretty much. So I went to Vincennes University, graduated from there, but my brother was at IU, and so I was back here, like every weekend and stuff like that, and just slowly. But I always loved music. My grandpa sang a lot. We'd go there on Saturday nights, and like Sundays afternoons, we would watch NASCAR and play board games, and he was always like singing something, and he had been in bands and stuff that I don't really remember. I was pretty little when he was still doing that, but was always singing. And so always loved music and stuff like that. But really, once I got into college, I had a buddy, Greg Dow, that played guitar a lot in Vincennes, and just watching him play and like listening to him, and then going back to IU, my brother kind of got involved with radio at B97. And so he had a few bands over to like their apartment sometimes to play like for Little Five and stuff. Like they put a few guys are old enough to remember 40% Steve, but they played like in a little grassy area outside of my brother's apartment, and at the time was called Hoosier Court. And so just like seeing all that, and my brother became good friends with Clayton Anderson, and so I was going to like every Clayton Anderson show. And like I said, just kind of always wanted to do it, but I have no musical background. Like I don't play an instrument. I don't know like theory or any of that stuff. And so really didn't think that was an option for me. But I always loved singing. I always loved country music, and just eventually started like, karaoke and with friends and just being silly and all that. Just the interest of it or whatever eventually just led to a point where I was like, I'm going to try to join a band. A lot of people had said that for years, but I just, again, didn't think it was an option. And I found my first bandmates on Craigslist, which is probably a little sketchy, but these guys were super cool. So drove down to their house in Greene County, Landon Groomer, and like practiced with him and his dad in a garage one night, and it was just super fun. And then basically from there, just like haven't looked back at all. Just have been running wide open, and just learning from people that I watch and like artists that I follow, and seeing stuff that they do and stuff that they post and how they carry themselves during shows and load-ins and travel, and then just trying to replicate all that. And so that's all led. I've been independent country music artist for 13 years, I think, and
Nice.
been
Hell
full time at it for, I believe it will be 9 years in September when I left my
Wow.
job. So
No, that's amazing, Jake. Now, you're saying you didn't play an instrument or sing until you were in college.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was always like singing along to the radio or
Yeah.
whatever, like never saying like in any setting where anyone would have thought that I was going to be a singer or whatever or something other than maybe me. um, but yeah, no training, no experience or anything like that. So
Merrick, you
But
still have chance to be a music star.
it's never too late.
Yeah.
it's never too late,
Yeah.
right? And it's especially doing what you do. I mean, so we're currently learning a lot about my brothers and I. We have another brother, Ethan, who is Evan's twin. We're learning a lot about singing and controlling your voice, spa. So this is all new to me as I kind of navigate that. How have you learned in your, what you said, 13 years, correct?
Yeah.
In your 13 years to control your pitch and really have control of your voice?
I'm the worst person to ask that question to because I don't know. Um, I honestly I think I don't want to say that I like was born with a talent because I don't know that I'm good enough to call it a talent, but like I just kind of get lucky. Uh,
13
I,
years, talented enough.
well, I appreciate you saying that. It no, I don't know. Like I just like I said, I don't have any formal training or anything like that. I'm just always singing along to the radio and stuff when I was a kid, and I guess probably like trying to replicate it, and so then like learning it subconsciously or something like that. But yeah, I really don't know. And um, I always tell my producer Nico Albanese, who's done most of my last several songs, and he'll be like, "Can you do it? Can you do it like this?" And I'm always like, "I don't know, man. Like I just open my mouth and kind of get lucky, I guess. I don't have any type of idea of how to control pitches. I think especially if I can hear it, like if a producer can kind of like also sing it to me, then I think I can get pretty close to replicating it. But as far as like actually trained, knowing what I'm doing, I have zero idea. And
So
I'm
That's so funny.
so like in golf, right? You play golf at all?
poorly and not often.
Okay. But you would, I feel like the music equivalent is you would not consider yourself technical, but rather feel, right? Everything you do
Feel
is what
play.
feels right. It's not like measured by numbers or analytics. It's just what Jake Dodds thinks is correct.
Right. So that can be a dangerous game, I guess, but it it's worked. So yeah, like I don't even I'm not even really counting like with the band, because like all musicians are, I think they're all kind of like counting in their head, one, two, three, like even if they're not like actively doing it, they're kind of doing it. Um, I don't even really do that. Only in spots where like I know I have to come in on. So, and now that we're on clicks and tracks, I don't even really have to do that. I can just go in and set it up for myself to make it super easy. But back in the day, there'd be parts where like you have to hit like at this certain spot, and we would just have to kind of run it until I could figure out the feel of it because the guys would be like, "Well, can't you just count from the end of your last verse, just like count two measures?" And I'd be like, "Well, that's not gonna happen." So, just, but I guess I've been blessed to be able to like kind of just know where it's at instinctively.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and Jake, it's great to get to talk to you because just from hearing a couple things you're talking about with Nico and Clayton Andersons, we definitely have some mutual friends. Our piano player who did worked on some music with us was Wes
yeah,
Schirmisher. Yep. And he does a lot of work with Nico. I haven't actually met Nico, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on working in a studio compared to touring. Is there one you prefer more?
yeah, I'm definitely on the touring side of things. Like I like to travel. I like the process of it.
Hmm.
Probably probably like annoyingly like it to some of my band guys because like I like things to go in like the perfect spot and like how can we like set things up on the stage and what's going to be the easiest way to take it apart as soon as we're done and whatever. So I really enjoy that stuff. I also the live show is like my favorite part. Like that's the part that I really
Yeah.
love and enjoy. I've never been like super huge on the studio, and I guess that's maybe because like going back to like not being like trained or like kind of understanding some of what's happening
You
sometimes.
also have to be super technical compared to
Yeah.
when you're playing live. You could just free flow it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're kind of just like you're in the moment, you're having fun,
Exactly. People,
things
you're feeding off
happen.
people's energy.
Yeah, exactly. And something happens really neat that hasn't happened before. And me and the guitar player are looking at each other like, Joe Rogan face, like when he leans back or whatever. Like we're having that moment where, yeah, the studio is definitely like much more technical. And I certainly appreciate it. And the guys that can do it, I wish I understood it more to enjoy it more. Um, but I don't dislike it. It's not, I get bored too fast, I guess, because I don't always understand what's happening. And bless Nico's heart, because he'll be like playing me different takes of something, different like guitar lines or different like a vocal
Hmm.
line, like especially if we're comping vocals. He'd be like, which one? He'll play me like six in a row and be, which one did you like more? And I'd be like, they all sounded exactly the same to me. Like I didn't hear a difference. But the guys that can, like, it's really magical when they can just sit there and be like, oh, and pop it together and stuff like that. So
Right. Now, you've been playing for 13 years. How many different band members have you gone through?
uh quite a few at this point. I started with a group of, there was five of us in the original band. I'll take what, yeah, five at times, um, four at sometimes. But so those guys were with me for, we were banned for probably like close to 2 years, I would say,
Hmm.
something like that. And got to the point where we're starting to do some road shows. And when people have jobs, obviously that gets hard to do. And so I mean, I was still working, but I was fortunate enough I had a job that had a lot of PTO. I had some decent like leeway to be able to travel and stuff like that. I didn't have like an important, necessarily like important role and in my job. So like if I was going to take off on a Friday, like it wasn't going to ruin anybody's week or something like that.
Yeah.
And so eventually led to some turnover and got some guys that were just coming out of music school, stuff like that. And so those guys were with me for a long time. We had a core unit that was together actually for like probably three or so years, maybe longer than that. It all kind of runs together sometimes, but um, core group of guys that were together for a long time, and so that was really fun. We were playing great music. Then you get so tight that like you could be messing up and not even really, everybody
Mm.
messes up in a way that like puts it back together and no one knows but us. Uh, and then just we were touring a lot, like going into like 2017, 18. We were on the road a lot and mostly playing like at my level, we're mostly playing like small bar or small to decent size bars, small clubs every once in a while, some festival dates, stuff like that. And not a lot of it is like super glorious. There's not a lot of money at that level of music. Like you're giving up a lot to be able to travel and play those shows like we were. But we were just kind of hoping, like if we just keep hammering, like eventually somebody's going to notice. And so just kind of wore everybody out, I think. And so then we had some turnover. And in the last couple of years, coming out of COVID, especially like we had a few subs and stuff like that in and out all the time. That was not
Hmm.
very much fun that year when we were first allowed to work again. Um, it's just hard when you have somebody different every week. And so been pretty fortunate the last really two or so years that we have like the same, pretty much the same core unit with just a few guys that flex in or out. And those guys play with us quite often anyway. So even if one of them has to take off and do something, and the guy stepping into that role is play with us a bunch and um, knows the material. And we're all in like a meme group, so it's not like we haven't seen each other for like 3 months, and it's like kind of awkward at first. It's like we were sending each other like silly stuff at 3 a.m. the night before. So
Yeah, nice. What is the biggest challenge most bands face?
I don't know. I guess that's probably different for every band. I would say as far as like when you're first getting started, like if you're just a band that's trying to like play a lot, it's schedules. It's everybody's schedules. Like because you know it's really easy. Um, Everybody's got like a sister or a brother and like kids and like nephews and nieces and cousins and everybody's got a birthday. So right, like
Yeah.
it's really easy to get in this scenario of like, well, I can't do the next 3 Saturdays because my nephew's having a party or a birthday or whatever. And so that when you're first getting started, I think it's scheduling. It's trying to find people that are going to commit to being in the band and like playing shows. And it's probably like very important to like designate. It's hard because I guess when you're first getting started, maybe not everybody is thinking like we're going to try to like make this into a thing. That's all I was only ever thinking. Like I was only ever thinking that like one day we're going to try to like sell stadiums. I
Hmm.
guess maybe that's just because I was naive, not coming from like a music background. I was just naive, and that's kind of what I grew up watching. I grew up watching these dudes in the '90s and watching Garth, and I'm a huge Chesney fan, and like going to Chesney concerts where he's in
He's coming
selling.
to the Sphere.
Yeah, I'm going. We're going. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Maxed out the credit card so we could be there. Yeah, but so like growing up watching that, like that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, this is what happens. And like I said, getting into college and then going to all of Clayton shows and like watching him progress from kind of being like a Bloomington bar guy to like getting all these opportunities and stuff like
Yep.
that, and putting out a record. Um, that's all I was ever thinking of. So the scheduling at first, and then I think once you get the group of people that want to do the schedule, the money becomes the hard part because it's the pay is not there at that starting level to make it self-sufficient. And so you have to have dudes that are just willing to like basically play for almost nothing. Um, and
Yeah.
that's a struggle.
And being 13 years in, how long did it take to build momentum?
Um, like real momentum, probably uh it was probably like I want to say I keep saying 13 years. Let me check that math right here. Not that it's like super relevant, but it'll just help my
Hmm.
brain kind of put things in context. Yeah, 13 years. Um, so I would say 2 years or something like that. Like we were pretty fortunate. I was still young enough when I started. I want to say I was like 24ish or something
Okay.
like that. Which is late. Honestly, that's kind of late to like get started. Um, at least in like the Nashville, like in country music, like starting a band at 24. That if you've never been in any segment, that's a little bit like late as far as industry goes, but
Hmm.
that's obviously less and less important like these days. But anyway, back to your like original. I would say like 2 years. We were pretty fortunate to have a lot of people around Bloomington that would come see our shows. Everybody was still like I said, I did a 2 year college and went for land surveying. So, but a lot of my friends were at IU doing 4 years. So like they still didn't have to necessarily go to work or whatever, and so they could come out to shows. We had a good group of party people that were always around, and then you get the college kids, obviously in a college town, they could come out just about
Hmm.
any night of the week. So we were doing, the Wednesday nights at the Bird, and then we were doing like weekends at the Bird, and then a couple like random things around the area. And we're pretty fortunate to have like a lot of people that would come. But I would say as far like as real momentum as like hitting the road and like stuff actually kind of happening, it probably took like 2 years or something like that, around like 14, 15, and then we were really on fire like 16, 17, 18. And then 18 is kind of like when everybody was like, man, we were literally playing like 200 something dates a year, traveling in like a van with
Wow.
like, no sleep. And that's back like when the shows couldn't afford like hotel rooms, because there is a point where that's like we used to, I forget what we call it, but we like one of my guitar players introduced us to dude wipes,
Oh,
and we
nice.
would call it like the
Yeah.
dude wipe shower. Like it would just be like 95 degrees, and you'd go in and be covered in sweat, and then everybody would go to the van, and like we'd just be like wiping ourselves off on dude wipes, and then put on our show clothes, and like some of those days are miserable. But so then yeah, like 19 or end of 18, 19 is kind of like where everybody was like, okay, that's a lot, and brought in like some new guys in 19, and really had a great year. We had a lot of momentum coming, and then obviously we know what happened the year after that. And so,
Yeah,
but
totally. And when did it become a part of your identity? Like, this is what I do. I make and I play music.
I think I still struggle with that, honestly.
Yeah. Why do you think?
I don't know. Again, just probably like because it's not my background. I think if I'm in a room with like all musicians, I certainly I feel like an outcast because I just don't, imposter syndrome, I guess, or whatever, which I think everybody kind of gets that if you have like some level of success or whatever. But for me, a lot of it's just, yeah, like not having a background in music and stuff like that. And but I don't know. I could psych myself up and be like, this is you've done this for long enough. This is what you do. But there are definitely times where I was like, oh man, I don't belong
Do
in
you
this.
find that most of your peers came from musical backgrounds?
Yeah, I think so. Um, Definitely like musicians, obviously, like
Hmm.
players, because a lot of them all have grown up on it. Um, I don't know about all singers, but a lot of them, yeah. Like even if they were just singing in church, a lot of them grew up doing that or whatever, which that wasn't even really like a thing for me. Um, like I said, it's just kind of like being around my grandpa who was like always singing like old country songs and stuff that he liked. And we would always watch the Opry. We would go over there and watch the Opry like Saturday nights and stuff like that. So I just always watched it, but was never like a part of it. And so, yeah, I don't know. But I think a lot of people that are in music grow up around it for sure.
Absolutely. Jake, I was going to ask you about the Bluebird. Playing there on the Dollar Wednesdays and the weekends obviously helped grow popularity. Huge in Bloomington. What other venues were you guys playing? And also, how did you guys get introduced to Dave Kubiak at the Bluebird?
Yeah. So I want to say when I was playing the Wednesdays, when I stopped playing the Wednesdays, or when I kind of got, I don't want to say too old for the college kids, but like
Yeah.
when there was younger people to play the Wednesdays, it was $1 Wednesday. But when I started doing them, I want to say it was like a quarter Wednesday. It might have even
Quarter
still,
beers.
yeah, it might have even still been. I'm trying to think when I first started going to the Bluebird what the Wednesdays were because everyone called them penny Wednesdays or something like that, but I don't think it still was. I think it was a nickel.
Yeah, I think when my dad was there, it was penny. It was a
Yeah,
Wait,
penny.
a
A penny
nickel
a
up.
beer.
yeah,
Now
Wow.
they do $1 a beer.
yeah,
In
right. And
2025, I can't even wrap my head around that.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so I think it was like maybe it's 15 cents or it's like 15-cent Wednesdays when I first started playing them. But
Wow.
anyway, yeah, they were always a blast and usually pretty wild. It's almost entirely college kids and they're partying and whether they're paying attention to the show or not, I'm not always sure, but at least they're having a good time. Um, but I got introduced to Kubi from being I guess just being there a lot. Like I said, I was always going to the Clayton shows. We'd go see 40% Steve when they were playing there. Um, we would go to all the dot shows. I don't know if you guys are familiar with
No.
but they were in my time there, they were Bluebird legends and still one of the best bands I've ever seen. They don't play together anymore, but I know Adam is like the lead singer for like Seventh Heaven out of Chicago now, and I think all the other ones are playing with other bands, but they split up. But they were legends, and so we were there all the time. And like I said, sort of known Clayton at one point when I got started with my first band, and we were doing some shows. I think I reached out to Clayton, or maybe uh, maybe we saw him or something. I don't really know how it came to be, but like there was um there was a chance that we were going to play open for Clayton, and it ended up not happening for whatever reason. And maybe it wasn't even as real of a chance as I thought it was going to be. But I was at the show, and I'm just like sitting on a bench, and like I had seen Dave Kubiak like walk by like a ton of times or whatever,
Hmm.
and I just like kind of approached him. I probably had too many 15-cent Wednesdays. And I just like walked up and I was like, hey, just so you know, I was supposed to open this show and like it would have been great if I did or whatever. And he was like, okay, well, send me something or he didn't know whatever. He gave me his email, I think. And in that somewhere in that time frame, or maybe probably gave me his phone number, I guess, at the time. But we talked a little bit, and in that time, I had another buddy, Cameron, that was starting like a rock band, and he got I don't know what day of the week it was, but probably like a Saturday in like the Christmas break time frame or whatever like that. He got a show in there and asked us to like come open or whatever, and so we played with him with Whiskey Formal. I actually still have the poster like on my wall right here. It's the original, like my first ever Bluebird show.
What year was that?
Uh, it doesn't say, but I'm gonna guess that was 2013 or something like that.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? It was probably 2012. It's probably 2012. So we played with those guys, and like I said, still young enough. I had a bunch of friends showed up, and it was awesome. It went really well. I don't know if we played well, but like it was fun for everybody because it was like, wow, this is happening or what. And so then he, once you can show Kubi that you can do it, whatever, especially if you can bring people, he's going to give you another opportunity. And so he hit me up, and we ended up playing there like not too long after the first time we had played there. I think we played another show by ourselves. We were going by the Perkins Brothers. We played another show by ourselves, I think, and then there was a show with Sheila Stevens and the All Access Band who played there a lot. And I've known Sheila kind of like in a roundabout way for years because she's also from Unionville originally, and like our families all know each other. And so Sheila used to host on Hoosier Country 105, was on the radio for years, and wrote a #1 for Reba. And so she's, a Bloomington legend for sure. And I think she asked me, or Kubi asked me to come do like 5 songs on the front end of her show. And that was like right around the end of the year. I want to say the end of the year 2012. And we played like 5 songs, and the other guys couldn't make it. That was like the first time the other guys couldn't make it. And so I got hooked up with a buddy of mine, that Tyler Roberts, and his brother Tim, that ended up being like our first version of our band. They had played in bands for years. We got all hooked up, and we did this like 5-song set before Sheila's show, and that was like kind of like the first like Jake Dodds show or whatever. So
That's great. So, obviously, having a huge impact in Southern Indiana, how impactful has the Nashville scene been for you in your career?
yeah, so I never moved. Probably should have at some point. Um, it I think it's been great. We play a bar down there, Old Red, all the time. It's a Broadway bar, so you're doing the 4-hour shift.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the better places to play because they have a great PA system, they have great equipment, they have a great team. They really take care of the bar. It's always clean. It doesn't get too rowdy in there. So I like playing there because the show is kind of the focal point of Old Red, where like there's so many great bands down there, but like some of those clubs, especially as it gets later in the night, everybody's just all boozed up. And
They got a band on each story sometimes.
oh yeah. And you're just kind of bobbing back and forth, and people will listen like 1 or 2 songs, and then they're moving on. With Old Red, it seems like the crowd is kind of more there to watch the band a little bit, and so that's been great. And I've really learned how to manage crowds there, probably better than anywhere, because you always have a new crowd. We're pretty fortunate to get quite a few people that return to see us fairly often, which is great. But like you obviously always have new people. You get turnover throughout the shifts because it's so long. So you'll usually have, like, I call it like a first half, second half. Like you'll have this when you first start, you'll have that group of people that are there. They'll eventually kind of wander off, and then it refills with like new people. And so you get a lot of new people to work with. You have nights or like shifts where people, for whatever reason, just don't want to have fun. So you kind of learn to live like in that awkwardness, which is really good for a live performer. It can be not fun for a while, but like there's probably no scenario where I could go into on a stage now where I wouldn't know how to handle it, at least like in some form, because I've just done it in so many different environments. And Old Red is a lot of that because like I said, you just have new people, new crowds, and there's always something going on in Nashville. But so from that standpoint, it's been great. I've done a handful of like writers rounds, stuff like that. Was fortunate enough to do. I've done I think three, maybe four whiskey jams. That's probably a number I should remember. I think it's four. Um, so done whiskey jams, which are like amazing and stuff like that. But wasn't I was never there full time, so I never did the networking thing. And I'm not much of a I'm not, I don't if I'm in a room full of strangers, I'm probably just going to end up like leaning against the wall or whatever. Like if somebody comes over and talks to me, I will certainly like talk and carry on a conversation, but and I'm not like antisocial. I'm just not very good at walking up to somebody and being like, "Hey, I'm Jake and I'm a country singer and like you're going to want to know me because I'm going to do cool stuff." Like I'm the kind of guy that's like going to stand at the bar and they're going to be like, "Do you play music?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yes, I sing in a band or whatever." Like I just kind of have never, and that's just my personality or whatever. But I think there's good and bad in Nashville. Like there's, obviously the networking side. If you're good at that, like that's where you need to be, honestly, probably. And um, you're making those connections, and because it seems like to me, even if you don't meet somebody that's like, going to change your life overnight, it seems like everybody kind of gets in friend groups, like so you'll have your like class of people that you started playing with, and then maybe one of them gets like a job that's like super important where they can make some decisions, or somebody gets a break, and then like you see like Luke Combs elevated, and then you saw all of like his crew kind of like come with him, like
Gotcha. Understood.
yeah.
What is the scene like in Memphis?
I have no idea. I've only
Okay.
been by Graceland, so.
Where else in in the United States is a country hub that's been beneficial, that's been valuable to you in your career?
Yeah, so we've always been kind of like a road band, is what I would call us. And like I was saying, that's my favorite part of it. And so we've traveled anywhere that they would have us. So like we used to go to Denver a lot, and we played the Grizzly Rose, which is this famous honky tonk. We would be the house
Nice.
band for like you're there for like 6 or 7 days or something like that,
You
and
drive or fly?
we would drive there. Yeah,
Nice.
um, and it was I loved it, and I actually really miss going there. Um, we met a lot of people. Obviously, country music in Denver is huge. We did some runs in Vegas that were always pretty cool. That Vegas is kind of a little bit more like Nashville because you're just getting like tourists that are like changing in and
Yeah.
out. But, like everyone there is super receptive. We've done a ton of stuff in Iowa over the years. We used to do a lot of stuff in Nebraska. Um, yeah, just like a lot of little bars or clubs, usually connected to like a college somehow, especially back in
Mhm.
the day, I would actually just like search out like colleges on like Google Maps and then like find like where, colleges that I'd heard of that I knew were like bigger, especially Big Ten schools. I would figure this is
Absolutely.
what city they're in, and then like okay, now search that city live music venues, and then like just look at pictures and try to find like whatever the best live music video or live music venue was, and then start emailing them.
What about Chicago?
Yeah, we've done Chicago a lot over the years.
Nice. Well,
Yeah,
Jake, there's no denying what you've done is quite incredible. 13 years, no other job. You have 30 shows coming up as summer approaches. This Friday, you're going to be in St. Petersburg, Florida. Tell us about that.
yeah. We've been doing St. Pete for I think the last 2 or 3 years through this group called Welcome to the Farm,
Hmm.
which is a bar that Chase Rice is kind of like the a partner in, and got hooked up with these guys through Ed Warm, actually out of Chicago. I've been playing shows for Ed Warm for years at Bub City and Carol's, and we actually have a Chicago date
Yeah,
coming up.
you got one.
Yeah, in May. So super excited to be back at Carol's, and I love Chicago.
When
Uh,
in May? What's the dates?
May 22nd is
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
at
try to go to
Carol's.
that. We live only
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
40 minutes from there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And we're
Yeah.
definitely got to come play, see some shows at the Bluebird.
Yes, yeah, we got a bunch of the Bluebird coming up this summer.
Awesome.
But yeah, Ed hooked us up with the guys at Forward, and so we started that all started in Cleveland, and we did like the grand opening, played like the first year there, and then they opened the St. Pete spot, and we go down there, 3 times a year, something like 3 or 4 times a year. And I just love St. Petersburg. I
Some
would,
warm weather.
oh my gosh, it's great. I
Yeah.
would be,
Tampa's a nice, it's like a tank top and flip flop kind of vibe too. It's relaxing.
yeah, it's super nice. And yeah, we're down there for IndyCar race weekend. So
Oh
I've
yeah.
I planned that out this will be the third year that I've accidentally scheduled myself in St. Petersburg so I could be there for IndyCar race weekend. So
Awesome.
So
Yeah, that's
what is
exciting.
your favorite venue to perform at? Do you have one favorite?
like favorite one to like go to, or like the
I
favorite ones I've
think
been to.
I guess we'll do two questions. Favorite venue because of just the vibe of it, and then your favorite show of all time.
Okay. Um, my favorite, probably I guess I would have two favorite venues. Well, like I said, I really like St. Pete, just the area. I like
Yep.
being in the area. And I love the farm guys. They're all like super nice. And so those shows are fun. As far as like all-time favorite venue, it's probably got to be the Grizzly Rose because of all the history, and it's like a 2,500 person like honky tonk. Like those don't really exist anymore. It was built in '89.
Wow.
Um, Not a lot of
That's
people
that's
built
the
them.
one in Denver,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. And everybody's been there. Like anybody that was in country music has played the Grizzly Rose, either coming up or coming back down. And so like the history of that building, and so as part of the house band, every like Friday and Saturday, you typically will get to do the opener for like a national artist. So I've gotten to play shows with like a ton of people there, and like some of them being like some of my favorite artists ever. So like Clay Walker, Tracy Bird did both of those at the Grizzly Rose. Got to talk to Tracy Bird like in the green room and stuff like that. So for that reason, probably the Rose. My favorite like building that we've ever, or like venue that we ever played like just once, but not regularly. We got to play, or on a regular, we got to play the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake, Iowa, which is where Buddy Holly played his
Oh,
last show at.
wow.
So we opened for Tyler Farr there. It was sold out. And then I'm kind of like a history nerd anyway, so I just they haven't really changed the room. So like since that night, obviously they've made like some changes to the stage just to like keep it modern enough to have shows, and but like for most, like all intents and purposes, like the room is the same as it was that night. And they actually have like three big painted murals of what was it, Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, and um, Richie Valens was the Big Bopper. Anyway, their murals are on the back, right? Like in the very back. So like you're singing to this crowd and you're trying to like be fun to this Tyler Farr crowd, and like in the back, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is where rock and roll died, or like, the day the music died. So
Yeah,
crazy.
that's special stuff.
With the tour upcoming, are you working on new music or is all eyes kind of set on this spring and summer?
No, I actually am. So for the first time in a while, I we haven't put anything. We put out a cover last spring, but then didn't put anything else out all year. We're just playing shows and stuff like that. And but I actually working on a few new things. So we've got one song that will probably be out towards the end of March, and then got a couple other ones like already in the pipeline. And so I've actually started writing for the first time in a long. Writing is not
Hmm.
my part of music either. Like uh, I do like doing it, but I don't like doing it on a regular basis, which is like probably what you need to do to be great at it. And so I've started writing again here recently,
Awesome.
and doing some stuff with Nico, just going in and trying to like. We've actually kind of switched up our method, and like we're kind of doing it pop style. So I'll just go to his studio with like an idea, and like we'll kind of like talk about the idea, and then he'll kind of lay down like a little groove like on like the electronic drums or whatever, and then like play a little guitar line, and we'll literally just kind of start building the song like that, which is kind of like more of a pop like oriented like way of doing it. um but like if you listen to like Rick Rubin and those guys, and
Yep.
some of his like theories. Like that's a good way to do it because you just like put
You just
yourself.
get into it.
Yeah.
Now,
Where
do
you're
you
like,
record at the Mount Gideon Church on 10th Street?
I've done some of that. Yeah, we've done some stuff there, and so now for the most part, Nico has a studio that we're just going over there and doing everything like in house.
In Bloomington?
Yeah,
Oh, right on.
Very nice. So, when did your tour begin?
yeah. So we're kind of like always on tour. Like we're a weekend warrior band, I guess if you want to call it that. Like we're almost always doing like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or at least some combination of those. Like there's very few weekends um, that we're not playing. So it's kind of like a never ending deal. But we did launch like this kind of special deal, working with a new manager out of Nashville, driver's seat. And his name, great guy that I got kind of. We were in like the same circles for a lot of years, but like hadn't really talked. So we got linked up, and we're doing this like tour where we're coming in like acoustic for the most part. There's Chicago is part of this, and that will be full band. That'll be a full band show for Carols and Ed. But
Nice.
so most of them are just acoustic, and we're coming in and playing like all the originals, and just kind of doing like a deal where I can kind of like talk about the song, play the song, and then hang out for a little bit after the show, and just kind of like get people's feedback. We're playing some of the new stuff or like stuff that we never play like in the big show. So
Awesome.
like there's 2 new songs, and we're gonna add in some stuff. I just have like a laundry list of like songs on my phone that we wrote in Nashville or up here, and we voice memo them, and then they just like live in your phone like forever. And I know everybody is guilty of that, but like
Yeah.
there's like so many songs in Nashville that are just like in iPhones or like computer databases that will never be heard. And so part of this is just like taking those songs and just like playing them, even if you think maybe like it's not the greatest song ever. Like, why not play it one night for like a group of people and say, did you guys like that or do you not like that? And so that's kind of what this tour is. It's like all the originals plus like a few like Easter eggs like that, where we're trying to get some feedback on what people think about everything. So it's really
Amazing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Jake,
Well,
go ahead, Merrick.
I was just gonna say, Jake, where can our listeners find all of your music, learn more about you, tour dates, and social media?
Yeah, so everything is at jakedodds.com. So pretty easy to go there, and then you can get a link to Apple, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. You can follow me. Instagram is probably where I post the most stuff. So if you go to my Instagram, which is at official Jake Dodds, there's the same links exist there that will take you to everything else. You can get to Apple, Spotify from there. Same thing. There's a link tree that has all the dates. Even if you pop up, if you just click it, the dates should pop up. But then I'm on everything. So if you just go to Apple Music, Spotify, whatever you listen to, Amazon, even if you just search Jake Dodds, it'll all come up, and then you can listen to it. So
How exciting.
We're gonna do it.
Jake, great meeting you. Great to have you on the show, man. Wishing you all the best and excited to hopefully see you this summer. Let's make something happen.
yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys for having me. I know emailing me is not always the easiest journey, so I appreciate you sticking it out and getting the date. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks for having me on, and
Thanks
see
for
you guys
listening,
this summer.
everyone. See ya.
All right.